The Amazing Digital Circus, the last act, is out now in theaters. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a short recap. The Amazing Digital Circus is an indie cartoon made by Glitch Productions that blew up with over 1 billion views in all of its 8 and now 9 episodes. The show is about our main characters trapped in a digital circus made in the 90s. They go on wacky adventures by the Ringmaster Kane. It centers around 6 characters: Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, Kinger, Zubul, and Gamble. I highly suggest you watch this if you're a Gravity Falls fan, SMG4 fan, 90s type of guy, or Theory man. The quality of the show is absolutely peak. That's all that is need to be said. I've been watching this show since the pilot. The first time I heard about the show was the start of 2023 with the teaser. My experience with other people in the fandom, they deserve to be in prison, both of them. Yeah. That's all that needs to be said. But my favorite thing about shows like The Amazing Digital Circus is the discussion. Whenever there's a show targeted towards teenagers or young adults, there's always an interesting story that we have to piece together while it continues. That's why I came here today to discuss something before I, or maybe you, see on the big screen. Hey bro, can you shut up and already move on? I saw the title and I know what you're talking about. I have a meeting at like 6:04, so shut up and continue already, alright? Domain expansion. I'm not turning into a theory channel. This is just an experiment to see how it turns out. Shout out to Corny for venturing out and finding evidence for this theory. You're the man. In episode 7 and onwards, there's 2 colors that has given a real focus: red and blue. Red represents the circus, the digital fake reality, while blue represents real life and the humanity in our characters. But there's another color that the crew didn't even think about: purple. If you skipped kindergarten or have the same IQ as a broken brick, then you must know that purple is a mixture of red and blue. If we apply this color to the Tatsy logic, then purple must be the in-between of the two. If red is the circus and blue is the humanity, then purple is adjusting to this new world while having human emotion. To clarify, if something has the same amount of blue and red, then that means it's equal to purple, since it's like the same amount. If you don't know what I'm doing with this information, then don't worry. Hear me out on this. These 3 colors can mean more than what the show lets on. It could mean anything that could be want, from the area to the characters to foreshadowing and events, as long as it follows the rules. The rules are that blue should be reality and red should be the digital circus. Purple is obviously the in-between, like having an exciting job or being unemployed. I think I've said enough. Let's move on to why I really wanted to make this video in the first place: their character designs. Kinger's the one who made the circus. He's someone that made Kane while also stuck in what he created.
The interpretation of his colors is that the blue represents the divine half of God, heaven, and his red represents the blood, mankind. So in Jesus, you have the mixing of these 2 elements: a God born amongst men and set to live as a human, red plus blue. And in Pomni,
Kinger's Jesus, but if Jesus made God. I started with Kinger since he's the easier one to dive into, and also to describe how my color theory will imply into our class. If a character's color palette has a blue, red, or purple as their main design, then they must relate to their action, struggle, personality, or arc. If you've been listening to what I've been saying about Kinger, then he lies into the action category because of the circus and wife and whatnot. Man, I hope my audience isn't stupid as fuck. Gangle has an avatar gimmick, which means that she has a special ability to alter her body. Gangle's gimmick is having 2 masks, happy and sad. Her happy mask is when she's overly kind to people with no negative emotions, while her sad mask, she's more shy, soft, scared, and anxious. Gangle tries to hide her blue tears to feel normal, since she believes that having no negative emotions will make her normal. But when she is compressing all of her complex emotions to everything positive, it makes her feel a little shallow of a person. Someone with no depth, might say. When you remove all the complex feelings you have, you're not human. Normal isn't having what's expected. That would be an NPC. Normal is having all the emotions a human can possibly have, whether or not it makes you comfortable or uncomfortable. Before we move on, Corny wants to point out that her normal mask in Fast Food Masquerade is more detailed than her sad mask. The thing is that detail is distracting how she truly feels. Yeah, that's kind of it. Ragatha's design is based on a beaten up rag doll, with her stitches and whatnot. Ragatha was horribly abused by her mother, always ending up in lies, pain, and etc. It doesn't take a test tube to know that Ragatha had a traumatic childhood. Her design has a blue button, red hair, and purple dress. I've noticed that all of those design choices lead up to her transition to the circus. Maybe a sort of struggle in a way. Her blue button represents the abuse with her mother, maybe implying that she has a black eye in the real world. The red hair represents her transformation to the circus, a constant reminder into her brain that the circus is her new life. If you were to believe that I was wrong because some rich female farmers are redheads, then I would agree. But I'm relying on the predictable fact of her being blonde from the media I've seen. I mean, when have you ever seen a show or a movie with a red-headed farm girl in the late 2000s? And that just leaves the dress, which is purple. So the first fact is that it's representing her abuse from her mother, with the stitches. But where does the circus's effect come in? Well, it's like her hair, a constant reminder of her new life. Did you notice that most of the episodes when they're in danger, Ragatha's always getting beaten up? Oh, basically the circus is exactly like her life. Pain and suffering that she doesn't even deserve. That is fucking depressing. Pomni's the POV character, someone that the audience can see themselves in her situation. So what would an average person react when being trapped in a digital hell for days? Well, you would try to latch on to your humanity as long as you can, while being used to the insanity. I actually see myself in Pomni, even though I don't agree forgiving Jack after he said that he will forget me when I die! You guys hanged out and actually had fun. You saw that Jax actually has more emotions and depth than being an asshole. And yet you still forgave him after when he dumped all of that into the goddamn trash. If I was Pomni, then I would grab his goddamn neck, snap it in half, and then send his ass to North goddamn Korea! Also in episode 1 when she tries to help Ragatha when she's in pain, because why the fuck not, her red hand got laggy. I don't know what this means. Does that mean that the circus life is defected when she first comes in here? I don't really know. The point is that Pomni is the example of my purple idea to this theory, even though that she's not even purple. Zoob was a little tricky when I put them into this theory in mind. She doesn't have red, blue, or purple to describe her mostly in their color palette. It was kinda difficult at first to see where Zooble fits here, but then I realized about her arc. Zooble's arc is that she's dealing with gender dysmorphia or metamorphia, whatever you call it, even though it's not canonly spoken. I'm gonna use metamorphia more than the other one because it's shorter and easier to say. Metamorphia means that you're struggling with your gender identity, not knowing who you fit into this world or what you even are. Trans people and especially non-binary people have the most to deal with metamorphia, and if you're non-binary or trans watching this theory, then thanks, I appreciate it. Okay, so Zubal's non-binary, we barely see any colors I mentioned that are important, so what does that mean? Okay, it's about her struggle with their gender identity, obviously. Like, what else did you possibly think I was about to say? Zubal's design and arc is such a mess that it doesn't even describe anything that I've or reality had said, and that's not a bad thing. It's just an example of Zubal's arc, that she doesn't fit into this world. Another thing that I've noticed about Zubal's design is that the color blue shows up way more than red, showing her human emotions. I mean, look at these designs. Do you see any red on them? Well, that leaves us with that complex Tumblr sexy man.
So this is the circus, huh? I gotta get used to this.
Oh, looks like one of these guys made it through.
Wait, what?
Let's talk about Jax, a very complex character in the series and this theory. I thought Jax would be a little simple, you know? He has purple and red, so how could I possibly mess this up? The thing is that it's not hard to get what Jax's deal is. It's obviously an arc or a struggle. The problem is that the story is a little bad. You'll understand more once I actually say it. Jax's skin is purple and his clothing is red. Jax's arc is about him pushing everyone away with his cartoony facade. And as the Tatsy rules go, red means fake cartoon world, meaning Jax is so deep within his act that he barely seems human for most of his scenes. Yeah, that's it. Pretty lame, am I right? The others fit right into their character story while Jax is just there with the convenience, and in a lame way. I was expecting a little bit more depth, conclusion, and an actual story to tell within that sentence that I said with this character, but instead I just really didn't get anything important, which kind of sucks. Jax's character alone is complex, interesting, and fun to dive into, but here it doesn't fit. I'm really sorry. That's all the 6 characters. I can finally move on to something else. Huh? Oh, Courtney sent me something. Let me see. So, you know how Cain is the outcome of the 2 AIs when the first one ate the second one? So, what if Bubble was the outcome for Abel? You know, the first red AI that ate the second one is red, so basically Cain has more power. Well, Bubble doesn't, since he's the second AI and has less power. Fuck it. I'm done. In conclusion, the color red, blue, and purple have more meaning than you could think. I thank everyone that has worked on this amazing show, and hopefully you guys will do much more better things in other TV series. Anyways, I'm gonna watch episode 9 in theaters, obviously. Hopefully you enjoy this little experiment that I made, trying out new content here and there. And yeah, see you guys later. The video's done. I better call Corny that it's all over and he can go back home. Well, it looks like my job is done.